And I can tell you that when it's done well, it's magnificent. And when it's done not so well, it makes you want to hide behind the sofa.
And it's leg spin that's the subject of our lunchtime masterclass, and in particular having a look at what Richie Bernaud achieved. I've got Richie here along with Mike Atherton and Greg Buckley, a 16-year-old who plays for Lancashire under-17s and bowls leg breaks, and we'll watch him in action in just a moment. First, a reminder of Richie's career. Born in 1930. He made his debut for Australia in 1952, 63 test matches there, over 2,000 runs, 2,201 runs, 248 wickets at 27. That's an outstanding rate for a leg spin bowler. Shane Warne's got him at 25.5 to give you an idea. And a very competitive cricketer and a wonderful captain as well. He made himself famous really on this ground in 1961. England were in trouble. Chasing, well, they weren't in trouble. 256 they were chasing. They got into trouble. 150 for one the score. Ted Dexter on strike to Mr. Bernaud, who came around the wicket. And that was around the wicket for not the first time, but once he got Dexter out, things changed. Now then, Rich, it was a new thing to bowl around the wicket.
It was. It had very rarely been done before. I'd never known a leg spinner to do it before. That was bowling PBH May behind his pads. I tried to bowl him the ball before, the first ball. Didn't get it out far enough, and then bowled him behind his pads with the next ball. And then Brian Close was caught behind square leg, about 20 yards behind the umpire. Normie O'Neill specially placed there for the sweep shot. And Closey has never believed it was O'Neill. He's always said it was Mackay, and he doesn't believe that the fielder was changed. Raman Sabarao out just before tea, a critical moment, and we went in knowing we had a bit of a chance. Bob Simpson took two marvellous catches. He caught J.T. Murray and David Allen, and the second one, catching David Allen, was one of the greatest I've ever seen. I was coming back over the wicket by this time because they'd stopped going for a win, England, and they could play defensively with the pads if I was around. Then I took myself off, having taken 6 quick wickets, and brought on Alan Davidson to knock over Brian Statham. Took myself off this Stratford end, brought Davo on, and that was game, set and match, I can tell you.
Nice relaxed celebrations there. A reminder that England had needed 256 and were cruising at 150 for one. And then Bernaud came and did his worst, and England collapsed. There's the mini card of the game. Richie, what made you turn to bowl around the wicket? Because although we've got used to it with Shane Warne and other spinners today, Ashley Giles is one who frequently bowls over the wicket into the rough as a left-hander. It was pretty unusual then. Very unusual.
It took me back, 1958, I saw Tony Locke bowl into some very deep footmarks at the SCG, and he bowled out in Australian 11. And that stuck in my mind. Over there in the Lancashire committee room, the night before the last day, one of my mentors was Ray Lindwall. I made a beeline for him from the players section into the corner, poured him a drink and said, Lindy, I want to ask you a question. If we're in trouble tomorrow, could I get out of it by bowling around the wicket into the rough stuff? He said, mate, he said you could, but you better be very good or they'll kill you.
And he was very good, and Australia won the game. Now, that's the sublime from Mr. Bernaud. Here's the ridiculous from Michael Atherton. Have a look at this, because we go back to somewhere near the start of Atherton's career. He bowls a ball that an Indian batsman can't reach, nor can Jack Russell. He's very unimpressed. What a boy he was. Look at that, 11 there, Athers.
I reckon that Atherton's unlucky here, because if Jack Russell had been a bit more nimble, that would have been caught.
And then, Athers, you get your wicket.
Dilip Vengsarkar. And you know what? He retired straight after that game. He thought
Did he hang his boots up or did he hang himself?
Well, absolutely. I think they took the laces out of his boots, having got out to me.
And I saw you bowl your last over in Test cricket at the SCG in the early 90s.
Well, I think I bowled a couple more after that, but I didn't bowl too many, that's for sure.
I said there were sedate celebrations when Bernaud won the game here at Old Trafford, but you didn't even bother to celebrate the taking of that
so
wicket.
embarrassed.
India got 600 in the face of your leg spin. Look at that. And there are your bowling figures. Talk about letting your country down. It shows it's a difficult art, really. That was the point of that. Let's go straight into the basics, Richie. There are certain things. You have a dictum here on leg spin. Anybody that writes to Richie and wants to know about the art gets sent this 2-page dictum, if you like, on the art of leg spin. The key things first.
Well, the key thing is that it's only 2 pages, and I often get letters back saying, is this all? Isn't there any more? And there's not, because there are simple things that are done. You must have a good action. Your bowling action should be, if you're bowling down to there, you should have your left arm up so that you're looking over your left shoulder, and you should be side on to the batsman. Your arm describes what you might term a pivot, and that's very important, that your hand then goes through to there. Your wrist should be cocked, but not stiffly cocked. I've seen some young bowlers with very stiffly cocked wrists, and if you do it, the ball falls out of your hand. You're not spinning it at all. Shane Warne's the perfect example of how to do it, because his wrist is cocked, but not cocked too much.
Can we have Greg show us some of the hand positions with you, Richie, here, because you've got a different position of release for all the different varieties of leg breaks.
What I say is that if you're bowling a leg break, the back of your hand is going to face your face. If you're bowling an overspinner, the back of the hand is going to face the sky, and if you're bowling a Roggen, the back of your hand will face that. Now that's the simplicity of it, and Shane Warne and others, I used to bowl a skidder, which is like Shane Warne's slider, and that came between those fingers. I used to find it gave me more success than the flipper, which used to come from underneath the hand. But it needs to be a simple thing. From the moment I turned there to run into bowl, I fixed my eyes on the spot where I wanted the ball to land, and that was measured from behind here to middle stump there. And there's a very good reason for this. If I said to you, what do you watch when you run into bowl? So you tell me what you watch.
Where I want to bowl it.
Yeah, right. And there's a good reason for it, because if I offered you $10,000 if you could land the ball and hit a tin can down there, you'd never take your eyes off it, would you?
Very good reason. Let's see you bowl a couple. And we'll see what Richie make of it. Greg plays for the Lancashire under-17 side. So sideways on is important. He liked it. Hello.
Right, well, I like that. Ball. Yeah.
Okay, what's your first thought here?
Well, first thought was just confirmed for me that you're playing in the under-17s at the moment. Yeah. Well, that's good. And the first 2 balls I've seen, you're going to bowl them all like that, I know, are very good. Everyone has a different action.
Yeah.
When I talk about that and that, everyone is slightly different. You can't just be a copycat all the way through. But you've got nice action, nice little bit of bounce into the crease, and you're not chest on when you let the ball go. If you are, you'll be dragging it down, but that's very good. Just bowl a couple more.
Athers, this isn't an easy art, is it? I mean, it's something that you found difficult, and if you have imperfections technically, they get exposed when you're under pressure.
Yeah, I'm here really to say how it shouldn't be done. And Richie mentioned one thing about the sideways action and the arm slightly lower
Show me your grip.
than the perpendicular.
Right,
Nothing
it's got
more
a
to
good
say.
grip. We're going to come to that position of the arm being lower than the perpendicular in just a second, because it's something that Warne's extremely good at. Okay, Greg, we're just going to have Athers just talk a minute about this business, Richie, of the position of the arm at delivery.
Yeah. One of the really important things I think about, and Michael and Mark have just been talking about it, is never to get your arm past the perpendicular. It must always be perpendicular there. If soon as you do, you can't bowl leg break. You know, you're obviously getting it just about right because you're bowling leg breaks and bowling them well.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just say that was essential. I was a pretty good leg spinner when I was a young kid, but if I had one great fault is that my arm was what Richie's just said, beyond the perpendicular. And if you use the golfing analogy, a golfer wants to groove his swing, so that under maximum pressure that swing holds up. What I didn't have was a fundamentally basic sound technique, so that under the pressure of a test match and under the pressure of a batsman looking to hit you, technique rather fell apart. So what I would say from an older leg spinner now, or an ex-leg spinner, but when I had some talent, but what I didn't have was the sound fundamentals, and I'd really emphasise that you must have the sound fundamentals.
And that is absolutely correct. I got to the stage when I was doing, if I would do coaching in Sydney, we'd go at the nets at the SCG with a group of youngsters, and I got to the point where I could run in with my eyes shut or with a blindfold on and land the ball where I wanted, simply because I'd geared myself into exactly the same movements all the time. I suppose you could say it's mechanical, but there's nothing wrong with being mechanical if you've then got plenty of variation in your bowling.
It's training the brain in practice so that under the pressure of a match situation, it's just repeatable and repeatable and repeatable.
That's correct.
Those are some of the principles. Athers, show us the balls now, the different varieties of leg spin, because we've got leg break, googly, top spinner,
Richie
flipper.
talked about the leg break, the wrist pointing that way, so that's what you want, the wrist pointing there, that way.
The back of the hand facing you, just to reiterate.
Top spinner is further down so that it goes straight on. And then the rather telegraph googly from me these days, with the back of the hand pointing over there.
They all spun.
Well, they spun from all over the place, but those are the basics of the wrist position that Richie was talking about.
And what's the first bit of advice, given those varieties, that you give to a young bowler and that Bill O'Reilly gave to you?
When Bill O'Reilly got me at Scarborough at the end of the 53 tour, and I had dinner with him, I'd been bowling 6 different balls and over because I was desperate to stay on the bowl, and I just wanted to get wickets. And O'Reilly realised this. He said to me, "Son, what you've got to do is develop a fiercely spun leg break and bowl that 90% of the time. It will take you 4 years to develop it." And it did take me 4 years. That was 1953, and I first started to come good as a bowler for Australia in 57 when we went to South Africa. When Shane Warne at a barbecue the BCA put on in Melbourne asked me walking across to the first tee if I could offer him any advice, this is very early in his career, I said, "I'll give you the advice Bill O'Reilly gave me. Develop a fiercely spun leg break and bowl it 90% of the time, and it'll take you 4 years to do it." Warne was so good, and is so good, that he did it in 2 years.
Now, we've got the example of the best fiercely spun leg break that we've ever seen, I should think, here. Firstly, we'll have the Andrew Strauss one. This was the other day where Athers and Richie talked a lot about the amount of side spin imparted on the ball.
It's the seam position which gives this away. Warne there is putting maximum side spin on the ball, so he's not looking for any overspin or top spin. He's looking to impart maximum side spin. So the ball is coming down, if you're the batsman that end, the ball is coming down like that. Maximum side spin, huge turn.
And Richie, then we take you to the Gatting ball, bowled on this ground, and the thing you've always loved about that, partly the spin, but also the drift.
Wonderful drift. And he actually bowled another one to get Robin Smith just a little later, which I thought was just as good a ball. But that ball which dismissed Mike Gatting, and he came in from there, I was commentating at the time, and it was one of the most exciting moments of my life, that ball drifted there and then spun back and just tickled the outside of the off stump.
I've noticed Athers permanently spinning the ball. He always spinning.
I used to do this for hours as a kid, just getting the feel of what side spin, overspin, top spin and googlies were all about.
Final part of the message for Greg?
I'd like to see him bowl one more leg break, that's all. Yeah, very good.
Very good. And what we've got,
I like that.
for Greg is a handshake from the
very
great
good.
man and a copy of the masterclass and the things that Richie believes are important.
And don't say, where's the rest of it?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Richie. Thank you to Michael. And thank you very much to Greg. Also to John, who kept wicket for us. We'll be back here at Old Trafford in just a moment from now. Lunchtime on the second day at Old Trafford.